everybody, thanks for tuning into my YouTube channel. This is Coach Eric here. If you get a minute, please subscribe if you haven't done so already, and if you could throw a like on the video, that would be great. So one of the biggest problems in golf historically is the over-the-top swing and players that pull the ball and slice the ball. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but how do we create a path that is opposite of a slice path, which is an outside-in path, right? Where the club is traveling this way over the top and then towards the body. Face either stays closed or open depending on which one you get a slice or you can get a pull. So how do we change that pattern? Now, telling a student just to swing to the inside isn't always the best way to do it. What we need to teach students to do is to change the movement pattern. Now, movement pattern is just a different way to move the body to get the club to go where you want it to go. Now, I do a lot of work with pressure mats and body track with all my players, and one of the things that I've noticed is that players that swing over the top tend to be out on their toes too much. So if players are out on their toes, starting the downswing, the tendency is for the path that the club head take to follow what we call the trace. So when we're doing pressure work, we're tracing where the pressure's going on the bottom of the feet throughout the golf swing. So if the golf swing is moving from the top out onto its toes in a pressure sense, the path is going to follow that, moving left, and our bodies are going to react by popping up to get out of the way. We can get pulls, we can get slices, we can get thin shots, we can get fat shots. So I call that a garage sale, which means at a garage sale you can get a little bit of everything. So how do we change the movement pattern? So here's one of my drills that I like to do, and I'm going to call this drill, I call it a posterior surf. All right, I want you to feel like you're surfing, posterior meaning back, surfing in your heels. Okay, so posterior meaning back, surfing meaning surfing. All right, so if I have a player that's moving this way out onto their toes, I'm going to simply try to help them create a feeling that they're staying in their heels and they're pushing their backside back as they're surfing forward. So it's going to look a little bit like this in slow-mo. So we'll do what we call shadow boxing. We'll do some shadowing before we hit a golf ball where we'll go up to the top. We're going to surf and push back. So I've surfed forward, which is our lateral motion forward, but I've applied the pressure more into the heels, almost to the point where my toes are coming off the ground, and then we can hit some. So we're going to go here, posterior surf, and you can see the space that I've created at impact between the end of the golf club and my body. And you can see that my backside has moved backwards, as opposed to the over the top, on the toes reaction looks like this. And that's the typical thing we'll see in most golfers. So again, shadow boxing, up to P4 to the top. We're going to surf and push back, and then we'll hit one. Okay? So the more extreme you make the feel, the easier it's going to become to execute the new movement pattern. So whenever we move something a little bit, we don't make a lot of changes. We need to feel extreme in our practice. And remembering that our practice sessions at the driving range or in your net at home are where you're going to actually train the movement pattern. You're not just there to hit balls, you're there to train the movement pattern. So it's more effective to take the time to work on the movement pattern and exaggerate it instead of just hitting one ball right after the other. So again, I'm going to set up, I'm going to shadow box, and this time I'm really going to exaggerate it. Take it up to my P4 position. I'm going to increase the flex, and I'm going to do my posterior surf. Okay? I'm really pushing back and surfing forward, and then I'm going to try to hit one. Okay? Got that one a little fat, so let me try that again. It's all part of the process. Okay? Back, up, surf, posterior, space is created, go. There we go. So if you're going to change a movement pattern, it's going to take hard work and repetition in the net or at the range, training yourself to change that movement pattern. So using the ground correctly is highly important. So as you start to take the downswing, let's avoid getting out onto the toes, and let's sit back, push back, and let's posterior surf to the inside. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for subscribing.